fix the.
I'm doing this. Oh, okay.
Oh, we should put it- you should sit closer.
Yeah, take this.
If you have to unmute yourself,
Yeah, I know that.
Please
Well,
mute
they'll un-
yourselves.
closing the door.
How do I?
You go to the volume.
All board members, please mute yourselves. We are live on YouTube.
Good evening, how are we doing?
Hi, Steve.
Hey, Dean. Dean, can you hear me?
Yes. Yep, perfect.
You chairing the meeting?
Yes. In Barbara's absence, I'm filling some big shoes. Okay, Vina, it's 7:30. We ready?
Yes, we are.
Okay, I would like to call to order tonight's Old Bridge, New Jersey Planning Board meeting for September 1st, 2020. And if we could all stand and please salute the flag. I pledge of allegiance
To the flag,
Of the United
United
States.
States of America and
And
to the republic
like,
for
which
which it
stands
stands
one nation, under God, indivisible,
with
with
liberty
liberty
and justice
just
for all.
Adequate meeting of this meeting of the Old Bridge Township Planning Board has been provided in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act at least 48 hours prior to the commencement of the meeting by prominently posting in the municipal complex an announcement giving the time, date, location of this meeting, mailing such announcement to the Home News and Tribune, and filing a copy of such announcement with the municipal clerk. Mr. De Palma,
Here.
Mr. Renna, Mr. Renna, Mr. Lauer,
Here.
Mr. Mamakis,
Here.
Mr. Schmitz,
Here.
Mr. Lenning, Mr. Pink,
here,
Chairman Marucci,
Here.
Mr. Sardillo,
Here.
Ms. Sawant,
Here.
Mr. Dargy,
Present.
Ms. Drum,
Here.
Mr. Hart,
Here.
Okay, Dawn, I didn't hear Casey. Did you get Casey as present?
yeah, I have Casey as present, and I also have Mr. Renner as present. Both of
Okay.
them were muted and didn't respond.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah, and I don't have the capabilities of unmuting them, so I couldn't do that.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so we move on to the minutes. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Second.
Ernie.
Okay, moved by
Ernie.
Ernie and seconded by
Eric.
Eric. Okay, thank you.
Mr. De Palma,
Yes.
Mr. Lauer,
Yes.
Mr. Mamakis,
Yes.
Mr. Schmitz,
Yes.
Mr. Pink,
Yes.
Chairman Marucci.
Yes. Okay, we move on to Resolution 09-2020P, 764 Texas Road LLC. Minor site plans with C variances. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Moved by
Second.
Mr. Lauer,
I'll second it.
seconded by Mr. Schmitz.
Yeah.
Mr. Pink,
Pink.
Both.
Mr. De Palma,
Yes.
Mr. Renner,
Yes.
Mr. Lauer,
Yes.
Mr. Mamakis,
Yes.
Mr. Schmitz,
Yes.
Mr. Lenning,
Yes.
Mr. Pink,
Yes.
Chairman Marucci.
Yes. Okay, and then Resolution 2020-13P, Bomber Home Improvements for minor subdivision. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Moved by Mr. Schmitz
I'll second.
and seconded by Mr. Lauer.
Mr. De Palma,
Yes.
Mr. Lauer,
Yes.
Mr. Schmitz,
Yes.
Mr. Pink.
Yes.
That's it.
Okay, next on the agenda is a one-year extension of time. 1919P, Maria Marquez for a minor subdivision with C variances. And again, requesting a one-year extension. Do I have a motion?
We have Mr. Stipe here handling that application. He's here for the request.
Oh, it's an application. I'm sorry. It's not, I misread that. Yes, okay.
Mr. Chairman and board members, good evening. My name is Michael Stibe. I'm an attorney with offices at 16 Cherry Tree Farm Road, Middletown Township. This is a request for an extension of a minor subdivision approval with respect to block 24-000.11, lot 22.14. This application was approved late last fall in 2019, and a resolution was adopted on January 7th of 2020, approving the subdivision. Pursuant to the MLUL 4055D47, that approval expires within 190 days unless the subdivision is perfected either by deed or filing of a plat. The approval period may be extended by up to 1 year by the board for delays in getting those resolution compliance requirements. In this case, we had 15 conditions on the resolution in order to comply with, including some outside approvals from Freehold Soil Conservation District, as well as a wetland letter of interpretation from NJDEP. Approximately 5 weeks after the resolution of approval was adopted, we were struck with the COVID-19 pandemic, and everything was basically shut down for a time and then has gradually slowed in reactivating, but that slowed the entire process down, and we were unable to satisfy all of the conditions of approval and get all our necessary outside approvals within that 190-day period, which is why we're here this evening requesting an extension of the approval. I would submit to the board that the zoning of the property in the surrounding area has not changed since the approval was granted, nor has the character of the area changed. It's pretty much the same as it was then, and that therefore the findings and conclusions of the board in granting the approval are still valid, and therefore we would respectfully request that the board grant the extension of approval. I had thought that my engineer, Mr. Katawala, was going to be logging in this evening in the event the board had any questions of him. I don't see him on the board right now, so I don't know if he has logged in or not. If not, then I will rest on my comments and request the board's indulgence in granting an extension of approval.
Okay, how many approvals are outstanding of your conditions?
Right now, I think the primary approval is the wetlands letter of interpretation from DEP.
Okay, do we have any questions from our board professionals?
Mr. Chairman, this is Rakesh Darji. Our office did the actual review at the time that the application was approved. I don't have any questions. I believe Mr. Steib summarized the reasons pretty eloquently.
Okay, any questions from the board members? Okay. Do I have a motion?
I'll move the,
Okay, and do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, moved by Mr. Schmitz and seconded by Mr. Pink.
Mr. De Palma,
Yes.
Mr. Renner? Mr.
Yes.
Renner,
Yes.
thank you. Mr. Lauer,
Yes.
Mr. Mamakis,
Yes.
Mr. Schmitz,
Yes.
Mr. Lenning,
Yes.
Mr. Pink,
Yes.
Chairman Marucci.
Yes.
Thank you very much, board members. I wish you all a good evening and hope that you all finish your evening promptly and get home safely.
Thank you. Okay, next on board is a waiver request. Number 2020-37P Machaponics Estates.
I don't know if the attorney was logging on for that because I believe Vina was waiving all of them. So I don't know if Mr. Petrino was logging on tonight.
Chairman Marucci, I just want to fill in the board. I'm not sure if Mr. Petrino is going to log in for this hearing. However, the applicant is proposing to consolidate 4 lots to create 2 new lots. The second basically the application, the whole project is split into 2 parts. First, the applicant is coming in to consolidate 4 lots, subdivide them to create 2 lots. In the second phase, one of the newly created lots will be further subdivided to create 7 lots, 6 containing homes along a cul-de-sac, and the 7th lot will be open space. However, the subdivision of that 2nd lot will come in phase 2. This application is only to consolidate those 4 lots and create 2 lots. I'm comfortable recommending the board waive all the waivers except for item 22, which requires proof of payment of taxes. And I believe that has been submitted to the department too.
You believe it has?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Any other input from our board professionals?
I have
Okay.
nothing to offer on this application.
I'm sorry?
I have nothing to offer on this application, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the board members?
Oh, hey, Vina, I have a question. So so we have confirmation that they paid their taxes?
Yes, they did.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so Mr. Chairman, any motion to grant this would be to grant the waivers aside from item number 22. Even though they already submitted it, we still are not officially be waiving that.
Okay,
The board so grants it.
okay, very good. Okay, anything else? Okay, do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Moved by Mr. Lenning,
I'll second.
second by Mr. Lauer.
Mr. De Palma,
Yes.
Mr. Rena,
Yes.
Mr. Lauer,
Yes.
Mr. Mamakis,
Yes.
Mr. Schmitz,
Yeah.
Mr. Lenning,
Yes.
Mr. Pink,
Yes.
Mr. Petty. Unmute yourself, please.
Yes.
Thank you. Chairman Marucci?
Yes. Okay, then we have a continuance, which is 10-2020P RD Management Corp. And it's a major site plan preliminary and final.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I can just explain. They're asking for this continuous based upon our later executive session discussion. This is the same RD management, same property application that the board had denied the application earlier and is currently under appeal before the Law Division. We'll be discussing a settlement proposal that has been submitted by RD management later in executive session. So in connection with that, they are asking to continue their new application that they filed for the property.
Okay, excellent. Okay, any input from anyone else on the board? Okay, do I have a motion?
Move it.
Moved by Mr. Lauer
I'll second it.
and second by Mr. Pink.
Mr. De Palma,
Yes.
Mr. Rena,
Yes.
Mr. Lauer,
Yes.
Mr. Mamakis,
Yes.
Mr. Schmitz,
Yes.
Mr. Lenning,
Yes.
Mr. Pink,
Yes.
Mr. Petty,
Yes.
Chairman Marucci?
Yes. Okay, we move on to our only application, which is 2020-05P Texas Road Plaza 3. And it's a major site plan preliminary and final.
Good evening. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Ron Shemanowitz, attorney for the applicant Texas Road Plaza 3 LLC. This application is for amended preliminary major site plan approval and amended final major site plan approval. The property before you is known as lots 5, 16, and 18 in block 20,001. This property is part of the overall Woodhaven GDP. We refer to it as parcels OC7A and OC7B. The planning board had previously granted preliminary and final site plan approval for this property back in December of 2017. And that was to allow a 250 unit age restricted development together with some 50,000 square feet of non-residential space. The application tonight is rather simple. We are actually looking to reduce the size of the development. The reduction is in the 250 age restricted units. We are proposing to go from 250 age restricted down to 233 age restricted units, a reduction of 17 units. Everything else on the site plan is essentially the same. You'll hear from very briefly from our engineer and architect. They'll lay out the very minimal changes that we're proposing. But the basic change to the plan is the reduction of 17 units overall. Importantly, the number of affordable units is not being affected. The current approval proposes or requires 38 age-restricted affordable units, notwithstanding the reduction in overall units down to 233. The applicant will still provide the 38 age-restricted units. As I stated earlier, the building locations and the previous approved site plan configuration is unchanged, except that there is some reduction in the parking areas, which our engineer will describe to you. I believe there are some 34 less parking spaces. We have essentially two witnesses tonight. We have Scott Turner, our site engineer, and Mr. Rob Larson, our architect. Bill Leith is on the Zoom call or Zoom meeting. If needed, he can jump in to answer any questions. With that introduction and the chair's permission, I would call my first witness, Mr. Scott Turner. We could have-
Mr. Turner, if I may, would you, I'm just looking for you on my screen, I apologize. Would you raise your right hand and swear that the testimony you're going to give this evening is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Could you please state your name and spell your last name?
Sure, it's Scott Turner, T as in Tom, U-R-N-E-R.
Scott, I believe you've testified before this board on numerous occasions, but if you want to briefly give the board the benefit of your qualifications.
Sure, I can do that. First off, good evening, everyone. It's nice to see all of you again. I have a Bachelor's of Science degree in Civil Engineering from the New Jersey Institute of Technology. I have over 30 years of experience in the field of civil engineering and land development with Menlo Engineering Associates. I'm currently a principal engineer with Menlo Engineering Associates. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey, and I provided professional engineering testimony to many boards throughout the state of New Jersey, including many times in front of this board.
Accepted.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Nice to see you, Mr. Turner.
Same here.
Scott, before you get rolling, I believe Vina has shared a plan, or perhaps you've shared a plan. I'm not that technically proficient. I believe this will be our Exhibit A1, and if that's the case, if you could identify what Exhibit A1 is.
Sure, yes, and Vina did share this exhibit, and it is, we'll mark this as Exhibit A1. It is an amended site plan exhibit dated July 24th, 2020, and it's basically a Google aerial image with the proposed site plan rendered on top of it. And it is, we'll mark it as Exhibit A1, and this is the primary exhibit that I'll use for the brief presentation that I have today.
Okay, please proceed with explaining the modification to the plan.
Sure, so just very quickly again, for the record, the property is known as Block 20,001, Lots 5, 1618. It is located on the northern side of Texas Road. It does have two minor frontages along Old Bridge Englishtown Road on the easterly side. The property is still governed by the PD zoning standards. On the exhibit, north is pointing straight up. So Old Bridge Englishtown Road is on the left-hand side of the sheet. Texas Road would be on the bottom side of the sheet. And as pointed out by Mr. Shemanowitz, we are really here with limited site engineering revisions, all really up within the residential portion of the project. The project is currently approved for 250 age-restricted units that are located within three 4-story residential buildings. And I'll use my cursor to point out where they are. This is building B1. This is building B2. And down below is building B3 that's located around the traffic circle. The proposal is to reduce the unit count overall from 250 units to 233. There will be a mix of 116 one-bedroom units and 117 two-bedroom units. Buildings B1 and B2 will contain 83 units each, and building B3, which is this one down below, will contain 67 units. And again, 38 of the residential units will continue to be designed and designated as affordable units. The change to the site plan really occurs to the geometry of a couple of the parking areas on the property. Because of the reduction in the overall unit count, we've reduced the parking count accordingly. There's a total of 32 spaces that we've reduced by. We've reduced the building B2 parking count by 24 spaces and the building B3 parking count by 8 spaces. So the B2 parking, again, I'll use my cursor. This area of the parking lot geometry has been modified to pull it further away from the wetland area and then to the northeasterly corner of building B3. We pulled it further away in a southerly fashion away from the existing wetland complex. So what the parking lot modifications allowed us to do is to allow us to retain additional freshwater wetlands that are currently on the property. The overall net increase in wetland retention is approximately 0.18 acres. We still have enough parking to comply with the New Jersey Residential Site Improvement Standards. The 233 units require 443 spaces. So the project still complies with that standard, and we also still comply with the overall parking requirement of 693 spaces. There's really no other plan revisions that we've done to the project that's really the bulk of the amendment to the site plan. We have staff reports that we can certainly go through. Ron, if you want to do that, or if you'd rather wait till Rob gets done with his testimony, however you want to proceed.
I think it might make sense if it's okay with the chairman to have Rob testify, and then maybe we could wrap up the review letters all in one shot.
Sure.
Sure.
I can do
And
that.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, just Mr. Turner, I didn't quite get it down in time. When you said the reduction on the spaces on which lots, how many were removed from the B2 and how many from the B3, if you don't mind repeating that?
Sure. So building B2, they're not lots. It's really just the area where the buildings are located. Building
Correct.
B2, which is the most northeasterly building, that parking count got reduced by 24 spaces.
Okay.
And then the parking lot in the northeast corner of building B3 got reduced by 8 spaces.
Thank you very much. I heard you say it. I just didn't get my notes down in time. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, Scott. My next witness would be Mr. Rob Larson, our architect.
Mr. Larson, sorry, I'm just looking for you on my screen. Would you please raise your, oh, yes, there you are. Thank you. Would you please raise your right hand? Do you swear that the testimony you're going to give this evening is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Sorry, I think you're muted. I couldn't hear you.
I do.
There you go. And could you please state your name and spell your last name?
Sure, my name is Robert Larson, Larsen.
Thank you.
Rob, if you could give the board the benefit of your qualifications.
Sure. I am a licensed architect and planner here in the state of New Jersey. Been practicing for about 22 years now. Presented in front of this board as well as many others in both capacities, including on this application previously.
Yes, your qualifications are accepted.
Thank you. And Rob, before you get rolling, I see we have a shared document up on the screen now. We'll mark that as Exhibit A2. If you could identify that, and then we'll have you proceed to your testimony.
Sure. So what's shown up on the screen now that we'll call A2 is a comparative ground floor plan of Building 1. So what you're looking at on the top of that exhibit is the previously approved ground floor plan, and the bottom is the current application ground floor plan. So A2 reflects the ground floor of Building 1. And again, I can sort of just get right into it with this, Ron.
Sure. We can mark your exhibits one at a time. I presume you have a few other sheets, correct?
I do.
Yeah, let's do them one at a time. So proceed with the Exhibit A2.
So on A2, and just a few notes for the board, Building 1 and Building 2 are virtually the same. So I did not prepare an exhibit of Building 2 because, again, it's virtually the same. Building 1 and Building 2 has been reduced from 83 units down, from 89 units down to currently 83. Each building has lost 6 units. The reason I prepared this exhibit is to show that on the ground floor, the points of entry are the same, the access points are the same, the trash is the same. Just as a general overall statement, when we dug into these buildings that had 250 units in them, we found that, together with my client, that the room sizes were a bit too small, the width of them. And that was the large generator as to why we're here tonight, is that the units just weren't something that they were, they felt that if we reduced the units and used up some more of that exposure to make some wider rooms, that they would bring a better home to the market. So in large part, as we discussed how each building lost units, that's really been what happened. We've also taken these buildings a bit further into development for construction. We've learned a lot about them. So what you're seeing is a much more developed version. And again, what we feel are better units. So really, that's it for this exhibit A2. I'll note that it has 22 units on the ground floor, previously 20 now. If we could, I guess, go to the next. So I guess what we would call exhibit A3. I can be quick with this. This is just showing the upper floors. Again, stairs in the same place, elevators in the same place, just less units, 2 units less per this floor. And obviously I have these if anyone has any questions, but it shows you that we've distributed this pretty evenly over the buildings. If we could go to not the next image, but 2 ahead. So the next image is an elevation, but if we could go 2 ahead. There we go, right here. I'm sorry, thank you for whoever's driving. So I guess what we can call exhibit A4. This is the ground floor of building 3. Building 3 went from 72 units down to 67, so a loss of 5 units. And there was a discussion at the board last time. You'll see when we get to the top floor here. We had previously proposed the amenities for this building, which are for use by the entire project on the 4th floor. And there was comment about that being the best idea above other units, above other homes and usability. So you'll see a pretty big difference here. We went from 20 units to 12. And that's in large part because you can see that large white area on that lower plan is now our amenity. So we've brought the amenity down to the ground floor, really as was discussed with the board at the previous approval. So if we could go on to the next one. Okay, so I think we're at, I can be quick on this. This is, the middle levels. I guess this is A5. So A5 reflects, again, a 20 unit down to 19 unit reduction for this floor. Everything in the same place, just distributed the insides a little bit differently. If we can go on, I guess, to the next one. There we go. So, and forgive me, are we at A6 now?
This is A6 you're marking now, yes.
Okay, so A6 again is building 3, but now this is the top floor. You'll see that the units went up because we moved that big white area that's in the top image, which was in the approval before. We've moved that down to the ground floor, as I've already shown you. So you can see we've now occupied that space with units, brought the units that were down up. Overall, just to recap the numbers, the project had, I guess, 212 market units and 38 affordable. We now have 195 market units and 38 affordable. There's no change in the affordable units. They are still 19-1 and 19-2 bedroom. In large part, our change has happened in the 2-bedroom units as we've distributed it. We've given a lot of space to our previous design for the ones. We now have a total of 107 one-bedroom and 88 two-bedroom units. It's about a 55-45 split. And that's really where the units went. Again, all largely generated by our desire to have some nicer units, especially in the one-bedroom category. So that the average unit size on a ones has gone up by about 80 square feet for a one-bedroom unit. I believe you have an elevation to share. There's been no change. There's been no change to the overall size of the building. There's been no change in points of access and like that. We've really just developed the buildings further and reduced the units total by 17. Again, I believe if we could share maybe the elevation of building 3 is enough. Is that not part of this?
Mr. Larson, did the elevations change at all? Slightly?
The elevations only changed in that we've actually worked out the elevations to match these new building plans. They're still pitched roofs. We've actually brought the overall height, exactly the same or even a little bit less, if I'm not mistaken. So no, the elevations, it's still hardy plank, it's still stone, it's still, composite trim and all that. So again, the elevations have changed to match the exact buildings. Now, we've taken these buildings pretty far in preparation to construct.
Ingress and egress points are all the same or similar?
Very much so. And the elevators, all the access, all of that remains the same. There's no changes to the type of building. It's just a reduction in units.
Okay, exterior sidewalks, hardscape, that kind of stuff is all the same?
Exactly the same. If not, it moved over a foot or two to match exactly where those doors went with the width of the units.
Okay, pretty similar though.
Yeah.
Okay.
So really, I'm available obviously for questions, but I don't have a whole bunch in terms of affirmative testimony. We're happy with the units the way we've developed them. We've learned a lot. We've got these buildings really far along. And we're just asking consideration to permit the reduction.
And Mr. Chairman, those are our two witnesses for tonight. It's a fairly straightforward application with the reduction of 17 units. There are the elevation.
Here we go. Yep, there we go.
Yeah, so we had, the top is what was previously approved, the bottom, forgive me, the shading is a little bit different. If you were to look closely at the top, it has stone on the bottom, siding on the top, shakes in the peaks, exactly the same below. For this particular building, you can see we've actually added a covered entry. We're on A7.
That would be A7, that's correct, the building elevation.
And you can see that we've, again, we still have trim around all the windows, stone at the base, decorative siding in the peaks.
Roofing materials changed?
Nope. Again, when we do design, the drawings up top were prepared by my design team. The drawings at the bottom are prepared by my construction team. They seem to have messed with the line weights a little bit. All the materials are the same. We're showing, if you were to look at the filed plans, we've given a very detailed list of hardy plank siding, stone cladding, again, composite trim, shakes, and other, there's several different types of siding provided and architectural asphalt shingles for the roof.
Okay. Okay, very good.
Mr. Chairman, we had nothing further. I don't know if your consultants had any questions. I mean, the review letters we've been through and we have no issues with. I probably would not be efficient to go line item by line item. So that's really, from our point of view, our presentation.
Okay, do we have any input or questions from our board professionals?
Mr. Sheminowitz, are you saying that the applicant will comply with the board's expert reports? the professional reports?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, there's no exceptions you need to go through or identify?
I just want to confirm with my experts and my client, that's my understanding, but if there are any comments, this would be the time to yell out.
Ron.
Yes, go ahead, Bill. Bill, you need to be identified and sworn. So Mr. Ife is looking to speak, so we're going to have him sworn.
Yes, Mr. Ife, would you please raise your right hand? Do you swear that the testimony you're going to give this evening is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
And could you just please state your name and spell your last name?
My name is William. Last name is Ife, I-A-F like Florida E.
Thank you.
And Bill, just everyone knows you, but could you just state for the record your position with the applicant?
I'm the project manager for Woodhaven Village and have been for quite a period of time.
Probably
Accepted.
Bill, real quick, the chairman asked about the status of the review letters. I know you've done some background work on it. Maybe you could tell us where we're at with the review letter.
Ron, you and I have spoken about this. I spoke with both Ms. Salant and with Rakesh. We've gone through the review letters and we'll satisfy them. We'll do just about everything. There's some corrections we're going to be making. But we'll satisfy them. It's not, we didn't talk about doing everything in the letters, but most of it. And I believe they were satisfied with that.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, this is Rakesh Darji. We did get a chance to meet with Mr. Ife and go through our July 29th review letter point by point. And we were in agreement on all the items. There's some items where the applicant agreed to make the changes, and there's some others where we just needed some clarification, and it would impact how we would view those items as well. So I understand what Mr. Ife is saying, that if one were to go through every single item, they're not doing every single item. There's some items where they provided some additional information that sort of clarified that item and it's no longer applicable. So I can affirm and attest that yeah, we've come to an agreement on all of the items in our review letter.
Okay, I'm comfortable with that.
So just for resolution purposes, we'll put something along the lines that will comply, agrees to comply with the board professionals reports, subject to working reasonably with the satisfaction of the board professionals, individual board professionals. Is that
Excellent.
everyone?
That works for me.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. Any questions from
Chairman,
any of the other board professionals? Any input?
Chairman, I just want to talk about my report. Especially, there were two variances that were cited in the report, and actually the report was issued prior to Mr. Darji, Mr. Ife, and I having the meeting. So I just want to clarify. I believe the applicant is not making any change to the landscape buffer to the residential area variance. That variance was granted prior. Based on this new plan, the setback was going to be 14.1 feet, but I believe that the applicant has agreed to retain the original approval. The landscape island variance that was cited in the review letter is actually not a variance, so that is eliminated.
Okay. Okay.
I have no further comments. Mr. Ife, I just can you just clarify on the dumpster location, because I believe Rakesh had pointed it out in his memo as well as I had, that it straddles between OC 7A and B, and I don't be decided on that one.
What we'll do is, we did not intend that to be anything more than illustrative, but it does function as a phase line. I think you were correct to point that out. So we'll be changing that so that it does, we'll move the line so that it's strictly in OC 7A.
Thank you.
So we'll fix that.
Okay, anyone else?
I have a question.
Okay, any Any of the board members? Mr. Lauer?
Let's see, Mr. Larson, has your buildings been approved by the township? Have they looked at the drawings for your previous approval?
No, we have permit drawings just about ready, but I do not believe they've been submitted for review yet.
Okay,
We
so
were gonna be here.
it's not a case where they approved it and then they're gonna reapprove it.
No, we knew we were gonna be here, so we took it to a point and then we were waiting.
Okay, and basically you're enhancing the units that are currently proposed.
Correct.
Is that the reason for the reductions?
Yes.
Okay. My other question is the parking areas now that would be reduced. I don't know if I'm looking at the current drawing or the old drawing. I'm not sure, but you testified that that's going to be for the wetlands, to enhance the wetlands or open space.
Yes, that's correct. The reduction in parking all lie within the area of the existing freshwater wetlands. And Vina, there is an exhibit, if you care to put that up. There's a wetland preservation exhibit where it's graphically shown, so you can see exactly where the parking spaces were reduced. But that it's around that wetland area, so there's a reduction of 32 parking spaces which amounts to a 0.18 acre approximate retention of existing freshwater wetlands. We should mark this exhibit as, Ron, I don't know which we're up to at this point.
A8.
A8. Okay, so this is an exhibit again prepared by my office. We'll mark it as Exhibit A8. It is a Texas Road Plaza 3 Wetland Preservation Exhibit dated July 24th, 2020. It's really a black and white exhibit with the parking lot changes highlighted in red. And if you were to look up in this upper right corner, you can see that the dark shaded area is the wetland area. This red dashed in area here where the driveway came up and through was the previous limits of the parking lot. And again, down here next to B3, where you could see the existing parking area, the previously approved parking area encroached into the wetland area a bit, and we pulled it away in that location, and we reduced the parking lot up in this location in front of B2.
Okay, thank you. That answers my question.
Now, if I could piggyback on Mr. Lauer's question, Mr. Turner, you mentioned the benefit of the wetlands. Now, is this part of the reasoning for the application, or is this just a benefit?
It's really a benefit. It's a byproduct of the fact that we've, reduced the number of units on the project.
Okay, but it wasn't a requirement by the DEP or any of your environmental?
No, has nothing to do with the DEP, no.
Excellent. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions from any of the board members or anyone else?
I have a question for Mr. Larson.
Okay, Mr. Lenning?
Mr. Larson, you had stated that there's an additional 80 square feet per unit. Is that including the affordable housing units?
No, the affordable housing units have stayed virtually the same. The average 80 square feet that I testified to was some of the one-bedroom market units were rather small. They had 10-foot, 10.5-foot master bedrooms and 10 or 11-foot living rooms. And we felt that we could, improve on that. And that's been that increase was seen and quoted to the majority of the market one-bedroom.
Thank you.
Okay, Vina, can we get rid of the last exhibit? I think we're done with that. Thank you. Okay, any questions from the board? Okay, now Dawn, how do we go about opening this to the public?
Vina will put up the screen for them to call in if they want to call in and ask questions.
Okay, and we give them how long, how much time?
There's usually a delay, so we have to give them at least a minute or two. I think there's a 30-second delay.
Okay, I'll set my timer for 2 minutes.
There are no attendees at this time.
Okay, well, being that there's no attendees, we'll still count down to 2 minutes?
Yes, we still need to give people time to call in who might want to add. It just, there's no on the virtual meeting. attending.
Okay.
There are no attendees.
Okay, a minute and counting. We'll just count down the last minute and give anybody a chance to call in that may want to.
There are no attendees.
Okay, the 2 minutes is up. I think we can call it. Hey, Mr. Sordillo, any comments to kind of put a bow on this?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. If the board is so inclined, a vote in favor of this application would be a vote to amend the prior approval as presented by the applicant. There was no specific conditions of approval discussed during this presentation, aside from compliance with the board professionals' expert reports in reasonable compliance with each individual board professional to their reasonable satisfaction. Aside from that, it would be a straight, there's no variances, so it would be a straight vote for approval or denial, however the board so fits.
Okay. So if there's nothing else, we'll put it to vote. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Moved by Mr. Lau, second.
I'll second it.
That was Mr. Rana.
Mr. Pink. Mr. De Palma,
Yes.
Mr. Renner,
Yes.
Mr. Lauer,
Yes.
Mr. Mamakis,
Yes.
Mr. Schmitz,
Yes.
Mr. Lenning,
Yes.
Mr. Pink,
Yes.
Chairman Marucci.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Mr. Petty.
Yes. Did you forget me?
I did, I forgot you.
How could we forget
I'm
you?
not making any noise tonight. I'm quiet.
That's right, you're very quiet.
And you're dark. You got no,
Tired.
you have no lights on there. You're dark.
Can't see in here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. We appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you.
Take care. Good night.
Good night. Okay, is there anything else before we sign out and then go to executive session?
Mr. Chairman, since we have wrapped up the public hearing sooner than what we anticipated, if the board members are okay, maybe we can log in using the other invite that was sent to the board members in 10 minutes. Mr. Sardello, do you have any announcements to make regarding?
Yes, with regard to the public meeting, we are moving from the public meeting into executive session to discuss an attorney-client litigation matter under an exception under the Open Public Meetings Act. When there is no expectation of any official action be taken during the executive session or after. So we would only be coming back to adjourn the public meeting at the end of the executive session.
Okay, so do we want to call it 8:35 for the executive session?
That works.
Mr.
8:35.
Sardello, since we are using two different invites for the meeting, can we not adjourn the public portion now? Because then we will have to again log in back into the first session to adjourn the meeting.
Yes, when we adjourn from this this Zoom session, that will be the adjournment of the public portion. When we complete the executive session, at that point, we'll be adjourning the entire meeting. We won't come back into this because there is no further public action or discussion that will be taking place.
Correct. I just wanted to clarify that to the board.
Absolutely.
And just to be clear for everybody on the board, we're using that second email, the second login for the executive session.
Yes.
Okay.
It's 8:25 now. We will log in exact 10 minutes.
8:35. Okay, so do I have so we're adjourning this meeting?
Yes, we should.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll move
I'll
it.
make
a motion.
Second.
Okay, moved by Mr. Pink, second by Mr. Lauer. Thank you all. See you in 10 minutes.
Thank you.